The mansion sat on the edge of the city like a fortress of glass and stone, silent and intimidating, its iron gates opening only for those deemed worthy. Inside, everything gleamed, marble floors polished daily, chandeliers that caught the light like frozen waterfalls, walls adorned with art that cost more than most people's homes. It was the kind of place where money spoke in whispers, where excess was so normal it had become invisible. Victor Langston owned it all. At 45, Victor was one of the city's most successful financiers, a man who had built his empire through sharp instincts and a deep distrust of people. He trusted numbers, contracts, and security systems, but never human beings. In his world, everyone wanted something, and if given the chance, they would take it. That belief was the reason Maria worked there. Maria Alvarez had been Victor's maid for nearly 3 years. She was quiet, efficient, and invisible in the way people like Victor preferred their staff to be. She arrived before sunrise and left after sunset, cleaning rooms larger than the apartment she shared with her younger brother. She spoke only when spoken to, her accent soft, her eyes always lowered. Victor noticed everything, even when he pretended not to. He noticed that Maria never lingered near expensive items. Never asked questions. Never complained. But instead of easing his suspicion, it fed it. In Victor's mind, silence was not innocence, it was patience. One morning, as Victor stood in his private study staring at the massive steel safe built into the wall, an idea took root. It wasn't a sudden impulse. It had been growing for weeks, nourished by his old habits and the voice in his head that reminded him that trust was a weakness. The safe held more than cash. Inside were rare watches, uncut diamonds, old family heirlooms, and documents that could ruin powerful men. It was the one place Victor believed no one should ever access without permission. Except today, he would leave it open. Not wide open, just enough. The door slightly ajar, the interior light glowing faintly, as if inviting curiosity. He planned it carefully. The cameras would be on. He would be watching from his phone, from his office downtown, waiting. Waiting for Maria to prove him right. As he adjusted the safe door, Victor felt no guilt. To him, this wasn't cruelty, it was efficiency. Better to know the truth now than be betrayed later. If Maria stole, she would be fired immediately, maybe even reported. If she didn't, well, Victor doubted that outcome enough to barely consider it. He left the study exactly as planned and walked out of the mansion, his expression calm, his heart steady. Maria arrived an hour later. She entered through the staff door, tying her apron as she went, greeting the quiet house with the soft rhythm of her footsteps. The mansion always felt different in the mornings, empty, echoing, almost lonely. She began with the usual routine, dusting, vacuuming, polishing surfaces that rarely showed fingerprints. When she reached the study, she paused. Maria had never been allowed inside that room unless Victor was present. It was his sanctuary, heavy with power and secrets. She hesitated at the doorway, debating whether to skip it entirely. But today was a deep clean day, and the list Victor's assistant had left included the study. She stepped inside. The smell of leather and old books wrapped around her. Her eyes automatically went to the desk, then to the shelves, careful not to touch anything unnecessarily. And then she saw it. The safe. Her breath caught. It wasn't fully open, but open enough. The thick metal door stood slightly ajar, and from where she stood, Maria could see the soft sparkle of something inside. Her heart began to race, not with greed, but with fear. This is wrong, she thought. This shouldn't be open. Maria took a step back, her hands trembling. She looked around the room as if someone might be watching, even though she knew she was alone. The safe felt like a mouth frozen mid-confession, exposing secrets not meant for her eyes. Her first instinct was to leave immediately. To pretend she hadn't seen it. But another thought followed, heavier and more painful. If someone else comes in, if something goes missing, they'll blame me. The fear tightened in her chest. People like her didn't get the benefit of the doubt. She knew that. She'd lived it. Slowly, carefully, Maria approached the safe. She did not look inside. Instead, she reached out with shaking fingers and gently pushed the door. It didn't close. She swallowed hard. The safe was heavier than she expected. She pushed again, putting more strength into it, but the door barely moved. Panic began to rise in her throat. She imagined Victor's cold eyes, imagined accusations she wouldn't be able to fight. Tears blurred her vision. No, she whispered to herself. Please. Her knees gave way, and she sank onto the carpet in front of the safe, her back pressed against it as if to shield it with her own body. Tears spilled freely now, silent but unstoppable. She wasn't crying over the money. She was crying over the weight of it, the power it held, the danger it represented to someone like her. She reached into her pocket and pulled out her phone. Her hands shook as she scrolled, stopping at a name she rarely called during work hours. Luis. Her younger brother answered on the third ring, his voice sleepy. Maria. Is everything okay? She tried to speak, but her voice broke. Luis, I did something wrong. I don't know what to do. What happened? He asked, suddenly alert. The safe, she whispered. His safe is open. I didn't touch anything, I swear. But if something happens, they'll think it was me. There was a pause on the line. Then Luis said gently, Maria, listen to me. You've always been honest. You need to tell him. Her chest tightened. He won't believe me. Tell him anyway, Luis said. Because the truth is all you have. Maria closed her eyes. The truth had never protected her before, but she had nothing else to offer. She stood, wiping her face, and did the only thing she could think of. She grabbed a pen and paper from the desk and began to write. Her handwriting was neat but shaky. Sir, I found the safe open when I came to clean. I was afraid someone might take something and blame me. I tried to close it but couldn't. I did not look inside or touch anything. I am very sorry. I stayed here so nothing would happen. She folded the note and placed it on the desk, then sat back down in front of the safe, her back against the cold metal once more. She stayed there for hours, skipping the rest of her duties, guarding something that was never hers, waiting for a punishment she felt powerless to stop. Across the city, Victor watched. At first, he felt satisfaction. He saw Maria enter the study, pause, notice the safe. His lips curved into a thin smile. This was the moment. This was when masks fell. But then she stepped back. Minutes passed. She approached the safe, not to open it further, but to close it. His smile faded. He leaned closer to the screen. She didn't reach inside, didn't even look. Then she slid down onto the floor. Victor frowned. He watched her shoulders shake, watched her cry in a way that wasn't dramatic or loud, but broken and small. He watched her make a phone call, her head bowed, her hands shaking so badly he could almost feel it through the screen. What are you doing? He muttered, irritation creeping in. When she wrote the note, he paused the feed and zoomed in, trying to read her words. His chest tightened as he deciphered them. Hours later, Victor returned to the mansion. He entered the study quietly. Maria didn't hear him at first. She was still sitting on the floor, eyes red and swollen, her body tense with exhaustion and fear. Maria, he said. She gasped and scrambled to her feet, nearly losing her balance. Sir, she couldn't finish. Tears welled up again, humiliation burning her face. Victor walked past her without a word and closed the safe with one firm motion. The click echoed in the room like a verdict. He turned to the desk, picked up the note, and read it fully this time. The room was silent. Maria stood with her hands clasped in front of her, head bowed, waiting. I left it open, Victor said finally. She looked up, confused. Sir, I left the safe open, he repeated, his voice rougher than usual. On purpose. Understanding dawned slowly, painfully. Her face drained of color. You tested me, she whispered. Victor opened his mouth to respond, but no words came. For the first time in years, he didn't know how to justify himself. He looked at the woman in front of him, this woman who had guarded his wealth with her own fear, who had cried not because she wanted what was inside the safe, but because she was terrified of being accused. Something cracked inside his chest. I'm sorry, he said. The words felt foreign, heavy, and completely inadequate. Maria stared at him, stunned. I was wrong, Victor continued, his voice breaking despite himself. I thought everyone would take if given the chance. Tears filled his eyes, unexpected and unstoppable. You didn't. Maria said nothing. She simply watched the man who owned everything crumble under the weight of his own mistrust. And for the first time in his life, Victor Langston realized that the most valuable thing he had almost lost wasn't in the safe at all.